If your job can be automated, and most can, then it will be. Technology adaptation doesn't take place immediately. It takes time and money over the course of several years. And that gives you a major advantage. So the question is, what can you do to make yourself irreplaceable? Welcome from beautiful Boulder, Colorado, to the first in a three-part series on the 3 big threats that keep lean specialists awake at night. I'm Richard Rahn, a principal with the Leonardo Group, and I've been on the front lines of lean manufacturing and manufacturing engineering for over 20 years, teaching lean methods to some of the biggest names in industry. But lately, I've noticed a sort of a tension, even from highly trained engineering professionals, and I'd like to address some of these concerns that we hear coming from our engineering friends and clients. So the first threat is one that I'm sure you've heard about because it's currently spanning every industry, although none quite so strongly as manufacturing. And I'm talking about the threat of automation, the possibility that your job could be replaced by technology. So if you're a knowledge worker, quote unquote, the risk is growing that what you do, and sooner than you think, could be replaced with software and or hardware. Now, I don't mean a robot doing your job necessarily, although depending on what you do, that remains a possibility. But more likely, however, is that a portion of what you do could be replaced with software systems. Now, a report published just a few months ago by Deloitte Consulting estimated that 1/3 of all UK jobs could be automated within the next 20 years. And that same article states that 49% of US jobs could go the same way, almost half. Now, 20 years sounds like a long time, but number one, time flies. Number two, based on the recent exponential rate of technology change, it could happen sooner. And three, the transformation is going to happen gradually. It's not a single event 20 years from now. So the bottom line is this: if your job can be automated, and most can, then it will be. Now, Bill Gates, in an interview just last year, he said it well: people don't realize how many jobs will soon, and emphasize the word soon, will soon be replaced by software bots. Okay, low-level jobs are being automated, but not high-level engineering jobs, right? Well, the problem with this kind of thinking is that many jobs that were once considered high-level have already been replaced. So consider the legal industry. Registrations for law school this year in the US are at their lowest level since the 1970s. Now, why is this? Well, primarily because lawyers can't get jobs nearly as easily, and going to law school just doesn't seem like a good investment. Now, what's causing this? Well, it may be, and many would agree with this, wink wink, that there are too many lawyers already. Also, the cost of higher education has been going up much faster than inflation over the past 30 years. So the cost of getting a law degree is clearly an issue. But one additional factor that people don't talk about as much is that maybe not as many lawyers are needed due to automation. Now, what used to take a room full of legally trained specialists can now be done with search engines and research software much faster and more accurately than human beings. Now, paralegals are in the same boat, maybe more so. Now, in addition, a lot of routine legal work has already been automated and doesn't require a lawyer at all, like preparing your personal will. As this kind of software becomes more and more sophisticated in the future, the need for a live human being will, of course, continue to go down. Now, moving away from the legal industry, here's the forecast for production jobs in the future. Most of the dots in this graph are on the high probability of automation side. The few on the low probability on the left include production supervisors and textile pattern makers, which presumably are harder to automate. Now, this doesn't look good, especially for skilled trade jobs. Let's now look at engineering jobs. This maybe is of more interest to you. This graph looks pretty good for industrial engineers, showing a low likelihood of being replaced by automation. The graph is most likely conservative, believe it or not, and the real question is, what percentage of industrial engineering could be replaced by automation? It's not an all or nothing proposition. So let's conduct a thought experiment for a minute. If you were to make a list of all the standard tasks that you as a manufacturing engineer do in your job, it would probably not be too hard to classify each task regarding the ease of automation. So, assuming superfast computers, large online databases, powerful algorithms, you can get a sense of how much and what might be affected. And then you can focus your training and your energy on becoming an expert in the tasks that can't be automated very easily. So the question is, what can you do to make yourself irreplaceable? So take a look at this list, ranking the least likely occupations to be replaced by automation. Now, how are they related? Every one of them has to do with helping other people, which is exactly what I would suggest you do in your organization. Help your operators, for example, make their jobs better by creating lines, production lines, that keep them safe and ergonomically healthy and efficient. So kickstart Kaizen events to get your team involved with continuously improving lines, not at a theoretical level, but in real time, because real-time improvements for operators are something that a computer program cannot emulate. For the last several years, I've had the great experience of being able to host workshops at the award-winning Toyota material handling factory in Columbus, Indiana. And I'm always impressed by the number of floor-level suggestions produced by the operators, about 1.5 suggestions per person per month. So these are practical changes coming from their hands-on experience, which over hundreds of employees adds up to about 18,000 small improvements made every year. That's an example. Now, what else can you do to make yourself irreplaceable? Well, one way is to stay up to date with the latest industry trends. Technology adaptation doesn't take place immediately. It takes time and money over the course of several years. And that gives you a major advantage. While the technology is advancing, you can also be moving towards your next skill set, which doesn't simply help your company, it also adds to your value as an employee. An easy way to do this is simply stay current with industry best practices. So educate yourself on what industry leaders are doing to get and to stay ahead, and then create a plan to implement those processes into your organization, into yourself. Now, software is extremely useful for executing and simulating complex processes. However, you are the one who sees the factory floor and works with the operators every day. So you're the one with the creative power and the ability to plan ahead for future needs. Now, here's something else I've noticed during my 20 years of lean consulting, and this may be pretty obvious. The industry leaders are the ones that are constantly improving their processes. So here's an outstanding example, Toyota Material Handling in Indiana that I mentioned previously. They've always been incredibly open about what they do. But if you ask them, aren't you worried about other companies stealing your secrets? Their response is, well, by the time someone else implements what we're doing now, we're already miles down the road. And they've been #1 in North America for fork trucks since the year 2000. And their engineers are still coming up with new ideas and creating new implementation plans based on the human experience on the factory floor. So hands-on experience is an unbelievably underutilized asset in most companies. Now, I'll be talking about ways to add value to your position in video #2. So keep an eye out for that. And I'll launch it in the next couple of days. In the meantime, I'd like you to think about these questions. How can I, or how can you, help the people in your company? And what can you do to make their lives better? And this will go a long way to making your job automation-proof. Okay, that's all I have for you right now. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Are you concerned about automation in your organization? Are there steps you're already taking to make yourself irreplaceable? It's a complex and it's a difficult issue. And I'd like to hear your suggestions. And as I said, keep an eye out for video #2, where I'll talk in greater depth about what you can do more specifically to increase your value within your company. So we'll see you then. I was trying to imitate Brendan Bouchard.
Keep a lot closer to the camera.
Yeah.
Around the
Okay, I can slow down. Tell me when.